Our trip started in Zurich on a grey November day, and we had to take our first connecting flight to Frankfurt and arrived at the Frankfurt airport hungry. But to be honest, there's not a lot of great food options in Frankfurt, even though it's a huge airport. We were looking all over to find most options closed. And then our next flight took us to Mombasa, Kenya. They split our flight in half again before we reach our final destination. So it was quite an endless journey. However, we felt the finish line near at Mombasa Airport, and everybody at the airport was incredibly friendly, really nice, yes, including also the birds and other cute little animals that made their way into the airport. Here's the human animals waiting in line to get on their final leg of flight, and here we arrive in Zanzibar at the visa on arrival line at customs. Made it out of the airport and on our way to our hotel. Here we see how the locals live, mostly inland, so not necessarily along the coasts. Some do as well, but there's a lot of hotels along the coasts, so a lot of the locals live more inside of the island. Here's our tired but really happy faces after 24 hours of travel, and we finally made it to our beautiful, beautiful little bed and breakfast in Jambiani. Our bathroom, all in blue, quite stunning. The hotel is run by a young couple that met in Dubai on Tinder and moved here together. The whole complex is barefoot, so you walk around barefoot and just wash your feet before entering any of the indoor spaces. And this is our little patio. We had a garden room, which was incredibly peaceful and beautiful. Sand everywhere. And just a few steps over, you walk to the beach, see the beautiful Indian Sea just right in front of your doorstep. The first evening was cloudy, so we didn't see the sun set over the beach, but nevertheless it was quite breathtaking. Just had to be careful because in Jambiani, the fisherman village we stayed in, the tide is quite high, especially in the afternoon, so it's actually not possible to walk on the beach after a certain hour. But nevertheless, a really beautiful view, and we couldn't wait to explore the next day. We went to Paji on the next day, which is another really nice beach town with a little more tourist activity, and after that, we went straight to the cenote Malum, which is one of the most, if not the most beautiful cenote I've ever been to. I know that Mexico is famous for its cenotes, but I have to say that cenote Malum in Zanzibar for me was the most peaceful. There were very few people. The grounds were really well kept. You had to pay an entrance fee to get in. And once you were in, it was really just you, very few other people, and nature, including the monkeys. And then here is a very sad attempt of mine to climb the rope. I did not get very far. It's a lot more difficult, especially if you're lacking upper arm strength, as I clearly do. And then we relaxed in the beautiful grounds around the cenote, had a snack, and just rested. You can see here it's really tropical, peaceful. And back at the hotel for dinner, it was really just us most of the evenings because we went so off season. In November, there was truly no one. This is just me and my boyfriend, and we had that table every single night because we liked it and there was no one else. And then the next day, we could finally explore and walk along the beach when the tide is so low that actually the water is so totally shallow. It's barely your feet even in the sea. The glassware in the hotel was stunning and was hand-picked and then shipped over carefully from Iran, where the hotel owner, the guy, has his father's roots. So really a lot of love and personal touches went into the decoration of Casa Paradis, the hotel we were staying at. And finally, sunshine. So we just had a few cloudy days, which is totally normal in November. It can also rain, which it did. But here we have incredible sunshine and the view from the Casa Paradis, which just means paradise house in French. And I think the name does the place quite some justice. The owners have a cat called Sushi, and here she is eating my yoga mat, which is, it's fine if she wants to participate. Giambiani is a fisherman village, and the women they collect seaweed, which they then make soap out of to sell. And here we see a group of Masai women and their babies. Absolutely adorable, although definitely not interested in being part of this vlog. They were incredibly friendly and they sell jewelry on the beach. And then the next day we took an excursion. This is where our lunch would be cooked at later. The crew led by two nice guys who didn't speak much English, but we communicated just fine. Here we were supposed to spot monkeys, but we didn't actually see any. And then we arrived at this beautiful, beautiful beach in the middle of nowhere. It was basically an island in the middle of the sea. And that's me all excited to be here because, I mean, it's literally tropical paradise. And then our lunch was prepared for us with some of the most delicious fresh seafood. And then we went on to a sandbank, which was my boyfriend's absolute favorite part of the trip because if you've never seen a sandbank in the middle of the ocean, it is truly spectacular. Back on the mainland in Zanzibar, yes, Waka Waka, like the song. There's a lot of touristy institutions, but we did like that where we stayed was a mix of here's where the locals live, you can see the houses and the construction, and then here's the hotel right next to it. And sushi, sleeping, and chilling in our garden. I think he took a liking to us. Breakfast was delicious fresh fruits and pancakes or crepe. What a view to wake up to. And some more of the local scenes. Again, just walking around the market. Well, not really walking as much as driving. It's hard to walk around yourself, and it's not recommended to get your own rental car. So we actually took cabs most of the time. The cabs are driven by locals, so if you're taking a cab, you're really supporting the locals in their economy as well. As in many developing countries, there's a big difference between the locals and the tourists, and also most hotels are owned by foreigners. And then we arrived in Abu Dhabi, and then finally in Zurich after a 17-hour journey. It was freezing cold. It was already early December when we got back, and we immediately went to buy our local bread and then walked home.